Welcome, my beautiful friends, to another transformative episode of Money 911. I'm your host, Kris Miller, and today we're talking about something that could literally change your life: hidden money. Yes, you heard that right. What if I told you that there may be money out there already yours, just waiting for you to claim it? Money that could ease your stress, support your dreams, and help you build the future you deserve. Today's guest, Neil Evans, is a financial detective uncovering billions of dollars in hidden funds for individuals and businesses. His company, Apropos Communications, works on a contingency basis, meaning if they don't find you money, you don't owe them a dime. He's here to pull back the curtain on how you can unlock financial opportunities that have been hidden in plain sight. So, if you ever felt weighed down by debt, if you're wondering how to breathe easier in your financial life, or if you're just curious about what you could be missing, stay tuned. This conversation might just be the miracle you've been waiting for. Well, welcome, Neil. It's just a complete honor to have you here and talk about where we find all this hidden money.
Kris, thank you very much for having me on your podcast. I'm very honored to be here, and I hope that your listeners will pick up one little grain, little morsel that could make their tomorrow happier.
That's it right there. It only takes one to change everything. So I that's the idea, to inspire people, because so many people are feeling, they feel stuck in their finances. There's no way out. They don't even have time to research and learn new things. Part of why I'm doing financial wellness programs, because you go to school, you learn how to make money, you get out of school, what do? You just go make money and give it to some other guy to gamble for you. And it's a roulette wheel. And so there's so much value here in this conversation. And you've shown time and time hidden money is out there, but it's waiting to be found. But how come people don't think about this or know about this? And what in the world are you talking about?
Well, there are lots of pieces and parts to this, Kris, but uh, finding hidden money is really not a universal discipline. It comes from parts and pieces. And my genesis actually is that I am part of a collective that was established about 20 years ago. I've been involved with it for 15 now. And the collective takes on subject matter expert teams to create work that's contingency based. So, meaning that we can create benefit for an organization or an individual, and they do not pay us unless we create that financial benefit or some other benefit that's wholly described that uh, will probably create a healthier bottom line at the end of the day. Some of these programs are really abstract, very much out of the box. Some of them are very, very meat and potatoes, believe it or not. And we can talk about lots of them. I have a portfolio. And as a matter of fact, I wrote my book about many of them. You can see it up there. Your company's Hidden Money Found. It's right on my shelf. And anyway, let's move it along and see what kinds of things that we can uncover.
Well, I really wanted to focus. Like, I've consulted over 6,000 people, stopped counting after that, in 35 years, and really shocked by the amount of debt that people have. And even people that are right, have lots of money, still have lots of debt. So there's a ripple effect of debt, and I would say a ripple effect of hope. That debt is more than numbers. It really is emotional. It's heavy, and it's always on people's minds, whether they're even consciously thinking of it. So maybe share a story here, how you were able to transform somebody's life by finding this hidden money, and make it short, little, sweet, what's going on there.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, 77% of the country, the individuals in the country who may be business owners or individuals are carrying more debt than they should. And about half of them make more than $100,000 a year, unbelievably. Just a really, really short story. One of our teams is a debt resolution organization. They're comprised of counselors and lawyers and all of this, and they have a very, very special niche. And one of our clients, Mark, came to us. He makes about $160,000 a year, pretty good income, even in California. I'd say you probably could live here, maybe. And, and he had $87,000 worth of debt and paying $2,800 a month to pay off that debt. Insane. So the debt resolution process, which is very different than debt settlement. If you're out in California, you can hear it on the news all the time. We settle your debt. We settle your debt. That that process leaves lots of scars on your credit report, which don't help you in the shorter term for sure. So anyway, Mark came to our organization for help and reduced his payments by 60% and also reduced the total amount of debt and redacted the marks from his credit report. And I think anybody who's ever looked at their credit report or was assailed by their credit report knows that the higher the credit, likely the better off you are going to be in life from finance perspective. Go for a mortgage, right? 100-point spread on your credit report could mean a 0.5% difference on your mortgage rate, which could equate to many, many thousands of dollars, um, down the road. So Mark is a happy guy, and he's gotten that relief of being protected and reducing the debt to a manageable amount. And he actually is siphoning off some of uh, that savings into investment account. So he's doubling up on this very wonderful result. So there's just a quick example.
That's great. And, there's such an emotional, psychological stress, anxiety, decisions that they're dealing with that. Then they're trying to work and raise their kids and all of that. So, and then coming into the workplace with all of that stress. So you really can heal business in a sense, right? $1 at a time. And so what's the process that you do? For example, I have a lot of clients that have debt. Okay. And there are the debt we'll make a negotiation, and some of them do change the credit, and they all have something that's a little different. So what would you say to someone, say maybe they had 20,000 in debt and they're paying, so much a month? What would you do? How would you take them through a process to get out of that?
Well, the process from this particular team, because we have quite a number of teams that work in tax area and debt management, but they work on an extremely confidential basis and have a number of programs within the program that the applicant or the prospect or whatever can select from depending on uh, how much debt, where the debt is, who the debt is with. But they can essentially settle many, many kinds of non-asset related debt, all kinds of things, even school debt, what do you call it, student loan debt. And so the applicant simply will get a complimentary counseling session from the team, which could go an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, to determine what would be a really, really good path that would benefit them in the short and the long term, because you have to look at both. And again, they will do the analysis looking at the type of debt, what program will fit it. Do they need protection, for instance, or do they have collection letters coming? Do they have court orders? Those sorts of things. So all of that has to be sorted out before the applicant can proceed through this process. And this is not an overnight process most times, just so you know. This can be an 18-month, 30-month process, but at the end of the day, that applicant will come out better and will have a much happier life for sure. So we love that process. People love it. And we work with really, really large companies. But I do want to mention something about companies. You mentioned that it affects companies. It affects companies in ways that I think people have never even thought of. For instance, well over a third of company employees are now rating their 401ks. Now, this should resonate with you, especially because there's less money in the 401k. And if there's less participation in the 401k dollars wise, even the management can't benefit from those 401ks and they have to pony up the difference. So that's taking the top from the top down. But think about from the employee's perspective, tremendous debt you mentioned creates health issues, and that creates absenteeism. And in some cases, we have a client, our team has a client that is a really large retail gift sort of company. And one of the things that they're concerned about is there's a tremendous amount of theft in the retail world of employees trying to get out from under this by, selling things or whatever. Your mind can take you to that, but it's a reality of what crisis this debt creates. So starting with an organized sort of program to get you through this, I think is the healthiest thing you can possibly do. And of course, not to be advertorial here, but we certainly can guide listeners to those places where they can get that help.
And are you able to help them like on a contingency? So if say the person comes in and I mean, I'm not quite sure how that works at all, but is that
Well, yes and no. Because if the team can't provide the service, they don't pay. So it's sort of this is what we can do for you. You will save this amount of money. There might be potentially sometimes in the process some upfront costs that seriously, when you look at the equation, you have to figure out whether it's going to pay out for you. For instance, if you need legal protection today to keep court orders out, they may have to bring in an attorney on a cost basis. But for the most part, the process is about a gentle negotiation and then a legal contract with the creditors that works for both the creditor and it works for the applicant.
okay? So the debt cycle, it has all kinds of different hidden costs and the debt trap and it's such a vicious cycle. It's addictive. People like having this like card that they're not even looking at the interest rates. I mean, and I think that was programmed. When you go to college, everybody gets a credit card. I mean, right? It's been built in, and there's not any mindset around, not breaking the cycle of the borrowing and the addictiveness of buying things you may not even need, right?
Yeah, it is definitely uh, almost a disease. It's because it's so ingrained in us to spend, spend, spend. And I'll tell you, it the credit organizations make it worse for us because everybody is striving for that 850, right? But the plain and simple fact is to get to the 850, you have to have debt. Think about this. The optimum to get a credit score like that is that you have multiple accounts that have been in place for a really long time. Now, if you really stop and think about that, that's sort of a counterproductive sort of thing, right? But if you maintain between 25 to 30% of debt on those accounts, you're you have a much higher likelihood of hitting that 850. So if you've got a whole bunch of credit card accounts that have no debt in them, you may never get there. So it's a crazy equation that it just makes you literally traps you into spending when maybe you don't need, and you buy things that you don't really need. It's a trap, right? We see a deal on something. I mean, I'm a shopper. I'm sure you're a shopper. You see something you want it, you buy it, and all of a sudden, oh, geez, my bank account's a little light this week. I'm just going to put it on my credit card, right? Who writes a check anymore? Nobody. And if my wife uses her bank card, whatever you go, debit card, I want to kill her, because it is a direct pipeline to her bank account. So people are conditioned to spend and spend and spend. You almost never see cash on the table at a restaurant anymore. I mean, I don't know if they know how to make change in most restaurants, right? Yeah.
Right. Well, and it's so subtle. I was blessed because my daddy taught me how to save, and so I never got into debt. I mean, I just didn't do that, and that's why it shocks me so much. I mean, you guys are going to pay that 24% interest rate just to borrow 20,000. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. But we're helping people to get out of that vicious circle, and I hear a lot of different things like minimum payments, high interest rates, the penalties get stuck. I've heard people get a zero, maybe they could get a zero credit card for 12 months and then pay the other loan off over time. And there's, I've heard a lot of different creative strategies. What do you think?
Well, for sure, carrying 24% interest rate on a credit card is absolutely insanity, but people get trapped into it sometimes for legitimate reasons and sometimes for not so legitimate reasons. I think about the people here in Los Angeles, thousands of people lost their homes. Okay. The government is not going to subsidize them for all of that money. I mean, the offers that the government's made has been just criminal. So they are going to incur more debt than they've ever had in their lives, most likely. So you could put them in one bucket and say that that's need. But then on the other side of the equation, it's want. And that is where the real psychological trap is. I have to have the best car. I have to have the best purse. I have to do this. I have to do that when it's not a need. And you know, if you're a crypto trader and you can sit there at the computer and make yourself $10,000 in a day, and maybe you have the right to burn that. Okay, that's your money, right? But will you go out and buy something on impulse that costs $10,000, put it on your credit card, and you didn't need it? And now that is going to take you down the tubes for sure. So it is a terrible, terrible, vicious cycle, Kris.
It is a vicious cycle, and I'm glad we're talking about it. That we need a solution to break free from debt, and that's why I had you on here because I've just seen this is like a pandemic, a pandemic of debt, and people are just and everything is moving so fast too that their focus isn't even on. They're just trying to live the paycheck to paycheck. What the other stat was 70% of people that make up to 100,000 are living paycheck to paycheck.
Correct.
And so then that pushes them into the debt. You have to have about four different profit centers to make it that way.
Yeah, for sure.
But why I had you on here is the solution, breaking free from the debt and the debt resolution management program. That's what you're about, right?
Right, right. I represent about 2 dozen cost recovery programs, business solution programs, but we had always been very corporatized in our in the programs that we sold. Some of them are for very, very large companies. But in 2024, we did sort of turn a corner and say really need to help the individuals because those individuals run companies. They do crazy things. Individuals who own companies very often use their private funds to keep their companies afloat, and there is that debt. So we want to help. So our organization teamed up with this organization that is management of the debt as opposed to just resolution. So again, this is a central point where an applicant, somebody who's very interested in trying to resolve that debt, can go to a very confidential place, very confidential meeting, and get mapped out a program that hopefully will work for them. It doesn't work for 100% of the people, but it works for many, many of the people, and they've done thousands and thousands and thousands of resolutions. So, Kris, perhaps you can indicate, the address for where people can go. And again, it's just a couple of clicks and set up an appointment. They schedule the appointment themselves. Nobody else knows. If you're an employee of a company, they wouldn't know. And again, it's really a great way to start off that. And I, I, I just know how badly debt weighs on people. We have so many friends and family that it just can destroy. So getting even out of the mindset of debt is a very first positive step that will help you to a healthy future. So we'll get that information out to your listeners.
Right, absolutely. We will have a link on the bottom, but for those of you that are driving or can't quite get there, you can also just send an email and put as a subject debt repair or help, whatever, and just send it to me, right at Kris at Healthy Money Happy Life, or Neil can send it to you too. And give them your email, Neil, or how to contact you, just in case they can't grab the link when they're driving or something.
Oh, yeah, please, please, please. I would suggest that you do reach out to Kris for that information. She'll send you the link. My email is kind of a difficult, especially to recall, but it's nevans, like Neil Evans, Nevans at apropos worldwide.com. Many people are not familiar with the word apropos. Obviously, it's a French word, but and there's a long story to that one day maybe I'll tell your listeners because I think it's a pretty fun story. But anyway, the company is actually Apropos Communications Incorporated, but our DBA is very, very simple. We find hidden money, and that's exactly what we do. So again, it's nevans at apropos worldwide.com.
Great. And do you suggest do you work with corporations? You work with individuals too?
Oh, oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The debt resolution program, we actually have an enterprise version of the offering. And essentially, enterprise is any company. It can be even a small company, 5, 10 employees. But we also have really, really large companies that are clients, and they have filtered this down to their employee population because we have all of the assets they need to promote this within the company, including leadership from our team. And for the individuals, they'll just go to the link that you'll send them or provide them and click. They can schedule their consultation right on the spot without, in a very confidential manner.
So, what is the difference between what you're doing and like a debt consolidation? Like there was a company that I had a client work with that they made the offer to the credit card company and they lowered their debt from 20,000 to 13, and they were able to pay a lower amount for 4 years, and it worked for them, and their credit score went back up. It didn't wreck anything. What is the difference between what you do and those other kind of companies?
Right, right. Well, first of all, we have a number of offerings, including like legal protection. But when our team creates this relationship with the creditor, reduce the debt and reduce the payments, it's a legal agreement. The other firms do not create legal agreements with the creditor. The creditor is obliged to honor that agreement as long as the applicant agrees to pay that amount on a monthly basis for the term agreed. In turn, the creditor will remove the credit marks from the credit report. So as opposed for somebody to wait 5 or 6 or 7 years for those derogatory marks to go away, um, then by the end of the project, whether it's 18 or 30 months, those derogatory remarks will be totally removed from the credit report. Um, all of the programs that we know of, Kris, and I apologize to any company that does this, and I'm unaware of it, but they will, when you look at the credit report, the creditor will say settled for, and they may not give the percentage, but debt settled. That stays on the credit report for 5 to 7 years, and that's almost as bad as a derogatory. So if you want to build your credit very quickly, then this program certainly makes more sense. Um, the sort of not downside, but the responsible side, though, just to put it out there, is that the applicant is obligated, just as the creditor is obligated. Applicants credited obligated to make those payments, and the creditor is legally obliged to hold up their end of the bargain. So there can't be any sort of reversal later by the creditor. We have so many stories of creditors not sticking to that. And also, we have the ability, because it's a legal team with a creditor, if the creditor is using unfair practices, all right, the team will actually go after the creditor. And there can be some other form of resolution that I'm not going to talk about on the show, but I will tell you that it's can be very, very beneficial. So they do many more things than just the settlement.
Well, it's definitely worth it to find this hidden money. And again, we'll have a link on the bottom, but we'll also make sure that if you need it, just email me, Kris, Kris, at healthymoneyhappylife.com. And then we can make sure you get your questions answered and get the debt off your back so you can not have to worry and have healthy money, right?
Healthy money, healthy life, Kris.
Right. That's right. Neil, it's been a pleasure. I know we're just barely unwrapping the package here, but at least we're getting some people's attention to say, hey, this is really important. You need to take time, learn about this, get a free consultation, sign me up. It's worth it. And again, thank you so much for joining us today.
It was my pleasure and an honor. Thank you so much for having me, Kris.
Thank you. Wow, just wow. What a powerful conversation. Imagine what could happen if you stopped assuming out of options. Instead, start believing that there's a financial relief waiting for you to claim. Today, we learned that abundance isn't always about earning more. It's about discovering what already is yours. If this conversation sparked something inside of you, share it with someone else who needs this message. Let's create a ripple effect of hope, abundance, and empowerment. If you're ready to explore what hidden money might be waiting for you, reach out to Neil Evans at Apropos Communications or me. Remember, your financial future isn't written in stone. It's written by you. You can live a life of peace, security, and freedom. And I'll be here every step of the way, bringing you tools, insights, and inspiration to help you create that future. Until next time, keep your heart open, your mind curious, and your spirit abundant. You are worthy of wealth, joy, and security. Sending you love and prosperity. See you soon. There's so much to learn about healthy money. I hope today's discussion brings you one step closer to securing and protecting your future. So you can get started on the right foot, go to meetwithkrismeller.com and schedule your free financial fitness strategy session. Thank you for listening, and please subscribe to Money 911 so you don't miss our next episode, which includes health, wealth, and peace of mind.
Lives inside of all of us, the power of love.